Today, we're going to talk about something that's happening inside you, inside every cell of your body, right this very second. We're diving into the amazing process that turns the food you eat into the fuel that powers, well, everything you do. This is the very foundation of how life creates energy. I mean, have you ever really stopped to think about it? You eat, say, a piece of fruit, and somehow the energy from that sugar gets to your muscles so you can move, and to your brain so you can think. How does that first critical step actually happen? Well, it turns out it all comes down to a brilliant little chemical pathway. And that pathway is called glycolysis. The name literally means sugar splitting. Glyco for sugar and lysis for splitting. And that is a perfect description. This is the absolute first step in breaking down glucose to get the energy that keeps us going. So let's pull back the curtain, shall we? We're going to step inside the cell's energy factory and see exactly where and how this incredible process gets kicked off. Okay, first, a few key things to know. This whole process happens in the cytoplasm. That's kind of the main gel-like space inside a cell. But here's the really crucial part. It does not require oxygen. And that's a huge deal. It means this process is ancient, it's universal, and it was essential for life on Earth long before our atmosphere had much oxygen in it. At its heart, this is the simple scientific definition. We take one molecule of glucose, and through a series of chemical steps, we transform it into something else called pyruvic acid, or pyruvate. The real magic, though, is in how that transformation releases energy for the cell to use. Honestly, the best way to picture all this is like a biological assembly line, a 10-step assembly line, to be exact. So let's follow one single molecule of glucose as it goes on its journey through two main phases. The first one is all about getting it prepped. So in this first phase, you know the saying, you have to spend money to make money? That's exactly what the cell is doing. It has to invest a little energy to get a bigger payoff later. In steps 1 and 3, the cell uses 2 of its energy coins, 2 molecules of ATP. This investment makes the glucose molecule unstable, getting it ready for the big moment in step 4, where it gets split right in half. By the end of this phase, we've got 2 identical 3-carbon molecules, all prepped and ready for phase 2. All right, so the investment has been made, the setup is complete, the sugar is officially split. Now, it's time for the part we've all been waiting for, the energy payoff. Okay, this is where we see the return on our investment. Now remember, we have 2 of those 3-carbon molecules from phase 1, so everything that happens from this point on gets doubled. In step 6, we create these high-energy shuttle molecules called NADH. And then, here come the big moments. In steps 7 and 10, we finally harvest our energy, creating a grand total of 4 ATP molecules. Our initial investment is now a profit. So after that whole 10-step assembly line, what did the cell actually walk away with? Let's do the final accounting and see what the net profit is from just one single molecule of glucose. Here's our immediate spendable cash. We generated 4 ATP molecules, right? But we had to spend 2 to get started. So 4 minus 2, that gives us a net profit of 2 ATP. It's the cell's ready-to-use energy, right now. Next up, we get 2 of these NADH molecules. Now, think of these like little rechargeable batteries or power banks. They're not spendable cash themselves, but they're carrying a ton of high-energy electrons that the cell can cash in later for a much bigger ATP payout, but only if oxygen is around. And finally, we have our end products, 2 molecules of pyruvate. This is what's left of our original glucose, and these molecules are now standing at a critical fork in the road, and their fate will determine what happens next in the cell's whole energy strategy. So, what does happen next? What is the fate of that pyruvate? Well, it all comes down to one single, absolutely crucial factor. Is there oxygen present or not? Okay, so pyruvate's fate really hinges on oxygen. If oxygen is available, that's the aerobic path, pyruvate moves on to the next major stage, the Krebs cycle, where those NADH power banks help produce a massive amount of ATP. But if there's no oxygen, the cell switches to plan B, anaerobic fermentation. This is exactly what happens in your muscles during an all-out sprint. They use fermentation to quickly keep glycolysis running, producing that small but vital trickle of ATP. It's not super efficient, but hey, it's way better than nothing. And that brings us to a final, really profound thought. From the simplest single-cell bacteria to the trillions of complex cells in your own body, glycolysis is there. It's universal.
The fact that this ancient, oxygen-free energy system is shared across nearly all life is one of the most powerful pieces of evidence we have for a single, common ancestor for every living thing on this planet. It's like a chemical echo of life's very first days, still powering us billions of years later. What does that tell you about our shared biological story?